welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad, and the X-Files. We host Mark. Our second instalment in a infrequent visit to the world of the X-Files. We currently only done one of these, so this is our second one. We're doing episodes 3 and 4 of season 1. Episode 3 was called Squeeze and introduces the character of Eugene Toombs into the X-Files. What do you think of this one, Sam?
I think this one was pretty good.
It was. It's kind of a famous one. I think it's the point when X-Files really kicked in for people because it was so impactful.
Yeah.
And it kind of caught all the good side of the X-Files. That, you know, the wit of Mulder. You know, he's kind of witty and funny, and he's kind of thinking at a higher level than most of the people he's dealing with.
Yeah.
And he treats them in a fun offhand kind of way.
I do like his sort of interactions with the other FBI agent, where he's like, "Oh, don't you know the Zergulons from Zoltar? They've got a big trade in livers."
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
It was fun. It's kind of interesting that they're kind of not quite despised but ridiculed by other FBI people, even though Dana Scully was kind of asked to take part by one of her old classmates who I get the feeling as is not as good as Scully and maybe his other classmates, and sort of wants a bit of help.
Yeah.
He obviously regards Scully quite highly, even though she's involved with the X-Files. He treats the X-Files quite dismissively in front of her. He thinks it's a bit of a joke, and he assumes she's going to. And she's pretty loyal. She kind of does not laugh with him. She supports him up, you know.
Yeah.
And will not take that kind of crap from him, really, which is really good. This early in the series, that kind of, it's really nice to see that already kicked in.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mulder does happen to have an X-File on record about this case, involving murders that happened in a 30-year interval, going back to 1903. And they catch Toombs pretty much straight away in a duct, but like no one will believe it because the fingerprints involved are elongated or not a match for him. But Mulder uses his magical software program, which wouldn't exist in the 90s. Probably would now, but wouldn't exist in the 90s. That sort of de-stretched the fingerprint and made it match. But that's TV, FBI stuff. What do you think of the tone of the series?
So far, it's got like a weird sort of. At times, it's really sort of funny, like I mentioned, when Mulder sort of messed about with the other FBI agents. But there's the really grim stuff, like the sort of off-screen stuff about the guy getting his liver eaten.
Yeah, it's kind of dark, isn't it? It's not a kids' show. That's it feels a bit dark for that. Now, this is, I think, pretty much the first. I'm trying to think the other two we've watched. This is kind of the first Monster of the Week show.
Yeah.
The other ones kind of tie more into the mythology. But this is let me say it's the first very distinctive Monster of the Week show. What is Toombs, for example? Mulder suggests he's some sort of evolutionary change.
Yeah.
You know, a mutation or something like that.
Which I don't think that's how it works, but...
Well, you know, sometimes mutation does work like that. Yeah. You know, it does. It's called hopeful monsters theory. Sometimes mutations are usually detrimental, but occasionally they'll throw up quite a significant change. The interesting dynamic in this one is we kind of know it's Toombs straight away.
Yeah.
And Mulder knows it's Toombs straight away, but no one believes it.
No.
So we're already primed for something sort of absurd to happen, you know, involving him stretching and stuff.
Yeah.
So when it happens, it doesn't seem silly. You know, it seems like we know it's going to happen, and it kind of works out. It's kind of got great atmosphere, this episode, I thought, as well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of establishing the whole atmosphere of the X-Files, which is often at night in dark rooms, hushed, fast discussions between Mulder and Scully. Basically, Scully will ask questions about, you know, this case and point out the absurd stuff. You know, she's the skeptic. where Mulder sort of explains it. Sometimes he doesn't. He says it in an offhand way. He'll say something witty to sort of diffuse it. And he is all about, let's wait and see, isn't he?
Yeah.
He says, it could be. It's a possibility. Let's just wait and see. He doesn't say it definitely is this, which wouldn't work. He says, let's wait and see, which, is a great dramatic device.
Yeah.
I think. It's kind of cool that they set it up so that we accept the stretching. What do you think of the effects?
The effects were goofy.
They were
they're very, I don't know how to phrase it other than of their time. Because it's CGI, but it's really bad CGI.
Yeah, it's not great. But if it's reasonably easy because the atmosphere is so good to sort of suspend disbelief. I think it is an absurd kind of storyline that a guy can just stretch himself.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool that they weren't scared. They kind of had the FBI in this one. The FBI kind of like the audience. The skeptical audience, what would you call it? Surrogate, stand-in, and that's kind of an interesting approach. And they mock him to his face, don't they? They call him spooky and stuff like that, and laugh, but he doesn't really care. He's got quite a lot of self-confidence, and he's not rattled by that, which is kind of cool.
I think it's a case of they've just been doing this for so long he doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, it could be that. He just believes in himself, doesn't he? That's it. So it's interesting that we've had episodes where the powers that be are considering shutting down the X-Files, and now we're seeing his peers sort of laughing at it.
Yeah.
So they are kind of operating in a sort of little box on their own, kind of thing. What keeps it going, though, is Scully does believe that Mulder's onto something and it might save someone's life if she follows it with him.
Yeah.
That's what I think Scully's about in his first few, really. I thought it was a great episode. It is a good episode.
Yeah.
It's a well-known. It's probably one of the most famous episodes in the X-Files, actually. It's because it was so impactful and it was so early. It was only episode 3, and you kind of feel they've definitely hit their stride already. Episode 3 hit their stride. It's pretty cool. So it's kind of cool. It's a bit of a horror film, really. Well, it is a horror film, guy ripping out livers. And I think, what do you think of the actor playing Toomes?
He was kind of goofy, but I think it was very appropriate for what was going on. It was a stretchy dude, just a stretchy guy who ate livers. It was just, he played it as weirdly as he needed to. Yeah,
he didn't have a personality as such, did he? He was kind of just this thing, this monster. And the weird thing about that is you think, well, how did he get a job? This occurred to me. How did he get a job doing this stuff if he doesn't even talk to people? But, presumably he does talk to people, and he might be in this phase in his whatever where he's locked into this eating livers business. Now this does hark back. I think, did I mention last time did I talk about Kolchak the Night Stalker?
No, you didn't.
Okay, Chris Carter, the creator of this series, really was inspired by a 70s series called The Night Stalker, which we've watched, haven't we?
Yeah,
we watched a movie. We haven't watched the TV.
I've seen both movies and a couple of episodes of the.
Oh right, okay. So you kind of got the vibe for that. There's a Monster a Week kind of show to that, isn't there? Which kind of, in the end, brought it down. It got ridiculous that every week he'd encounter one of these weird monsters. He was just a reporter, but he'd meet werewolves and headless bikers and all of this. This Chris Carter was very inspired by Kolchak, and you can kind of feel it. It's in the vibe, but this is a slightly more serious show. Though I've seen this parodied as being like, highbrow Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
which it kind of could be.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe there is something in the second Kolchak film, isn't it, where a guy has to kill people to stay immortal.
Yeah, he's like extracting something from their blood, I thought.
Yeah, okay.
He's kind of a vampire.
It's kind of a similar vibe to this character, really. Though here they suggest it's mutation. It's kind of cool. There's also a reference, I think, they talk about the World Trade Center bombings, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But I believe there was before.
Yeah, I think there was.
Before the trade tower, before the towers were brought down, there was another bombing in the square between the towers. It's just everyone's forgotten that because 9/11, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, Tombs. It's called Squeeze. Squeeze is a really interesting episode. It also does have a sequel episode later on in the series. This particular season as well. Yeah, like towards the end of the season, there's a reprise of Eugene Toombs. He comes back.
Yeah.
Right, the second episode we watched, episode 4, is Conduit. Here, this involves a girl going missing after what could be an alien abduction, and she's got a little brother who's kind of gets things through the TV, and sort of scribbles things down. Anyway, what do you think of this one?
This one wasn't that good.
I agree. I agree. I think it was pretty poor.
It didn't really have any real conclusion, though. From what you've sort of described about X-Files, it sounds like that's going to be a common thing.
It often is. Episodes are often ambiguous and inconclusive. But this was that. But this was the worst.
Yeah.
I think this was in it. It's interesting that I think these two episodes almost encompass between them the best and worst of the X-Files.
Yeah.
The first. What keeps you watching, I think, in this episode is Mulder and Scully and what they get up to. And some of the scenes are kind of cool, but when you think about them, they're silly. There's one bit where they're like acting like it's a massive investigation in this library, where it's really a girl talking about her boyfriend and getting jealous. Yeah. And it's kind of a bit goofy that they've set up as like a conspiracy theory kind of interrogation. But all it is about a jealous girl. There is one good scene, which if it was done, factually it's ridiculous, but as a scene, as a TV sort of visceral thing, it kind of works. Where the little boy is filling in noughts and ones on a piece of paper, and when it pans back, it's a picture of his sister.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, you're not going to be able to do that with binary, but
yeah, that's not how binary works. But it's
unless you put dashes in, I guess.
And we get again the guys being intercepted by higher forces.
Yeah.
But this seems legit to me. It isn't like the Men in Black kind of higher forces. It's these other guys that they've realised that something's been sent into the Federal Bureau that's a secret. Was it missile?
It's
code?
like part of a satellite code.
Yeah.
But it also happens to pop up in like a dozen other documents. So like it'll be part of the image file for a picture from Leonardo da Vinci or something like that.
Yeah. It's kind of that bit's kind of cool.
Yeah. That was kind of cool. And there's no conclusion to it.
Yeah,
it's
the
just,
whole episode.
Oh, the boy they pulled him in for questioning, and that was it.
Also, the boy seems to be writing binary for things like bits of concertos.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that. Honestly, there's a bit where they're on a road and lights appear from the top of the hill, and it turns out to be a gang of bikers just drive past, which is a bit silly. Really.
Yeah.
You'd hear,
and then they do get some kind of cool like evidence for stuff, like the tops of trees are seared and there's like sand has been turned to glass nearby. Nothing comes of it.
Yeah, and there's also a wolf appears, which is kind of
but that's like leads them to a body. So.
Yeah, but it's weird that Mulder decided to chase a wolf. There's no real reason for that other than they find a body.
I think
would you chase a wolf?
No, but I think Mulder would.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's a bit of a flabby episode, really.
Yeah,
the sort of the director does a reasonable job of making these sort of a fairly pedestrian talk about jealous boyfriends into sort of a big conspiracy kind of dramatic shot, but it's not a great episode. Like I say, this is like. I think one of the showcases some of the worst bits of the X-Files, which is inconclusivity, where they build up things that have no payoff, and stuff like that. What is fun is Mulder and Scully. Really.
Yeah.
Also, we do get a bit about Mulder's sister. You know, that's driving him in this one. In fact, doesn't Scully get questioned from a superior about, do you think Mulder's personal agenda is driving this request?
Yeah.
Rather than...
I think the whole point is it kind of is.
It kind of is, but it's still a genuine concern. I also thought it was interesting, ultimately the cover-up, or, you know, the lack of getting a resolution in this episode is caused by the mother rather than the government. She knows what, you know, when you've seen these UFOs, what it can do to your life, or people think you're ridiculous, and she doesn't want her daughter to go through the same thing.
Yeah.
And she actually says, as far as I'm concerned, she's been on the back of a Harley for 2 weeks, which doesn't explain anything about the little boy. You know,
nah.
It was good acting.
Why was the little kid receiving binary from a satellite?
Yeah,
no one knows. Why was
and will he keep doing it? You know.
Yeah. Why would the trees see it? Why was the glass? Why was the sand glassed?
Glass. Yeah. Why would that? Yeah. It's kind of it's a boring. It was a bit boring, really. I'm not sure. Was boring the right word? It was just a bit
too drawn
frustrating.
out.
Bit frustrating. It didn't go anywhere really. So I think this illustrates quite well, as I say, the good and bad sides of the X-Files in these 2 episodes. Right, we actually have some feedback. This was sent in. It was sent in just after we recorded the first 2. If we'd have recorded a bit later, this feedback would have gone into that episode. But we received the feedback after we'd recorded, but before we'd actually put it out, which is a shame. But I got it now. This is from a chap that I've actually recorded with since my episode on Kingology on the Running Man. Anthony Rotolo came on to talk about the Running Man, but prior to that recording, he did send in this piece of feedback. And it was kind of off the back of getting some feedback from him. I sort of wondered if he'd be interested in coming to talk about the Running Man, so it's kind of cool. So here's what Anthony's got to say about the Running Man. Sorry, the X-Files.
Hey Mark, this is Anthony from Pennsylvania. I'm a big fan of your show, and you also know me from the Horror Etc. group, where we've interacted quite a bit. The X-Files, great show. I love what Chris Carter did with that in recycling some things that we've seen before, shows like Kolchak the Night Stalker with the Monster of the Week formula, and then he combined it with other shows like The Invaders that gave us one of the first Aliens Among Us conspiracy things that we had ever seen on television. So the combination of those two things, the paranormal and conspiracy, were very addictive. But more than that, he put it together with some great characters, with Mulder and Scully, Mulder being the passionate believer, and Scully more of the scientific or skeptical type, kind of represented us as viewers. They were sort of like lenses through which we could approach this type of material. And the show just gave us a lot of variety, lots of creatures, lots of different long-form arcs were interesting to follow as we ran on those tracks. And it was just a really great ride. So I'm looking forward to your coverage of this and can't wait to see the episodes come out.
Right, so he mentioned Chris Carter, which we've already talked about. And there was another show which isn't that famous anymore, like I said, called The Invaders.
Never heard of that one.
Yeah, it's never on the TV. I remember seeing maybe 1 or 2 episodes when I was a kid. It was a 60s show, about the same time as Star Trek. It has that kind of feel, you know, in terms of... It was a film series. And it was kind of a fugitive kind of story, but he was being pursued by aliens that knew that he knew that they existed, and that the aliens didn't want him to sort of reveal it, so they were kind of pursuing him. That's all I remember about it. I remember it being quite cool and quite liking it, but it wasn't on like as a continuous run. It was just odd episodes here and there aired in this country, so it was never. I don't know what happened in it. I don't know how it resolved. Don't know anything about it. I wouldn't mind giving it a watch actually, just to see if it was right.
It does sound kind of cool.
It was. I remember it being cool, but you know, it's not. As far as I know, it's not on Netflix or anything, and I'm not sure it's ever had a proper run in the UK at all. I just don't remember. I just remember seeing the odd episode in it. It may have been it was on late at night until I was a kid. I wouldn't have caught it or something. But it was a 60s show, so it couldn't have been that scary. It felt about the same level as Star Trek. It was that kind of thing. I remember what he looked like, but don't know who it was. I'm going to have to look into that. Maybe we can talk about it next time. Might be worth catching an episode or watching a bit if we can, see what it's like. But yeah, it was a conspiracy story, one of the early conspiracy stories, and there were a few around in American TV at that time. There was like one called The Fugitive. I think you could even class this kind of pursued by other people thing into like Kung Fu and even The Incredible Hulk. It was kind of a common thing in American TV to have this sort of drawn out chase as the main story. It was kind of cool. But yeah, Kolchak is a definite clear influence on the X-Files, and if you're uncharitable, you could say Scooby-Doo is as well. Okay, so next time we talk about X-Files, it'll probably be the next 2 episodes, but it's not good. We're not rushing through this, so it'll be when we fit it in. That's fine. Okay then, you've enjoyed them so far?
Yeah,
they're
aside from that last one, but
the last one wasn't great.
Seems all the odd ones I'm not a particular fan of, but
yeah, that's how it's been so far. I have to say,
rather the even ones. So
yeah, it's the even ones. Yeah, I have to say, I've seen all 9 seasons, both films, right? And I'd say, apart from one season, which I can never remember which one it is. It was the one they made straight after the film, and it felt like they were a bit worn out. There's probably 4 or 5 really, really great episodes per season, and probably 4 or 5 really bad ones per season, and the rest are average. That's how it kind of pans out, in my opinion. The one that was made after the first film, I think it was season 6, it might have been season 7, that had no really good episodes in, maybe one, but it didn't. Also didn't have that many bad ones, so it was kind of a very average, bland season, if you know what I mean. There was no real standouts, either good or bad. But I could be remembering it wrong. It's been a long time since I've watched them all, to be honest. All right, okay, so we wind out there.
Okay.
Bye from me.
Bye.
I'd rather be liberated. I find myself captivated. Jumping